Game on the line. Who would take the last shot?
Me. That's a dumb question. Me.
Morning. Chances podcast on a early Tuesday morning. Of course, by now, uh, y'all just like me probably woke up and seen the news on the passing of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Uh, he passed away. I know he had been battling Parkinson's disease, and that pretty much put him on the decline. And he passed away at the age of 84. You know, him being he's pretty much one of the few people left from his era. He might be the last. You got to remember he marched with Martin Luther King. He was with Martin Luther King the day he passed away. And so of course there's many people out here, doing that are activists and whatnot. Of course, what we got going on with immigration and ICE, it would be, I don't know exactly what his views was on immigration, but from what I know about him, I don't think he would be, would have been cool with what's going on right now. But like I say, that was literally the first thing I seen when I turned on the news this morning. Like boom, his face is on the screen. 1941, 2026. So yeah, this is kind of crazy. He was born in Greenville, South Carolina. Uh, went to North Carolina A&T. He was actually an All-American college football player. If he wanted to, he could have more than likely went into the NFL. But he had a higher calling, and so he went to seminary school to be a minister, and at that time, he had became an associate aide to the late Martin Luther King Jr. in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Like I said a few minutes ago, he was actually there in 1968 when Dr. King was assassinated at the Lorraine Hotel, where he died of his injuries later at the hospital, and that pretty much pushed him to be the man he would be, who we'd all come to know, because his activism could have ended right then and there. I mean, he could have went back and just, been a reverend at a church, not be in the public eye. Uh, Probably could have went and played football still, because he was still a fairly young man when that happened. But he decided to push forward. He founded Operation Push, which eventually became the Rainbow Push Coalition. They did things such as push voter registration, and they held big businesses accountable. He was big on rights for laborers and farmers. I don't know if y'all remember that music festival, Farm Aid, back in the 80s. Reverend Jesse Jackson had something to do with that. Also, He did dabble in politics somewhat. He ran for president in 1984 and 1988. One of the first. He wasn't the first black person to run at that time. I want to say Shirley Chisholm ran before him, but I know he's the first one to run in my lifetime. So he ran in 84 and 88. Uh, I remember this. I do remember as a teenager. I remember there was rumblings of him running in the year 2000 election, but he never actually did run. He did. I want to say he did endorse Al Gore. Uh, he did win some state primaries. He just didn't win enough to secure a nomination. But the fact that he did win some states in a primary, that was a big deal in the 80s, especially for a person running for the first time, and also, like I said, African American running at that time. Our heads couldn't wrap our heads around it at that time. Like I say, of course, Barack Obama did run for president in 2008 and won the election, but without people like Jesse Jackson running in the beginning, showing that you could at least win primaries in states. All you would need is, say, a bigger backing and a stronger opponent. It could be done, and it ended up being done in 2008. Uh, he's also known to negotiate the freeing of some hostages. He got some hostages free in Cuba. I know it was one time he went to, I want to say, Bosnia. There was a crashed helicopter crew of some U.S. troops, and he went over there and got it. He went to Syria to negotiate the release of a pilot, of another pilot. So, and a lot of these times when he went over there, he went on over there on his own, not as a representative of the United States or anything like that. In some situations, he was told not to go to these places because it would have been deemed too dangerous. It was deemed too dangerous for him to go, but he still decided to go on his own because he just felt like that's what needed to be done. Especially, you got a bunch of red tape, or so-called red tape, with a bunch of other politicians and stuff that need to be done. If he sat there and wait, a lot of those hostages would have probably not got released. They'd probably still be in custody today. They could have been executed. They could have been like a Brittany Griner situation before she got freed by President Clinton, where a lot of these hostages would have probably went to trial and had to serve a jail sentence before they got released. But he took the initiative and went on his own to go get some of these people out. And I've always admired him for that. Now, me being a young man back then, I think the very first time I actually saw Jesse Jackson on TV, which is crazy, was an episode of A Different World. He was Colonel Taylor's uh associate and friend. Like, I knew he was a wasn't playing a character on the show, but he was pretty much playing himself. And then of course, I want to say one of the Williams brothers did an impression of him on The Living Color. I want to say it was Keenan. They didn't have him looking crazy on there. They just basically uh mocked his cadence. How he talk, he had a distinct cadence. He liked to rhyme a lot. Similar, a lot of people has compared his speech style and his cadence similar to a rap verse, because he would be known to rhyme a lot of words. Um, During the Bush administration, he actually did get some type of political run. He basically had the title of a shadow senator, and that much basically what a shadow a shadow senator consists of is they're not voted in, they're selected, and he was selected during the Bush administration. So bear with me 1 second. All right, we're back. Yeah, basically that position isn't voted in. You're pretty much selected, and like I say, he was there during the Bush administration. Yeah, I'm getting trying to break down exactly what a shadow senate is. So I'm on Wikipedia right now to get the exact definition of that. Yeah, I'm like I said, on this page right now. He is really, really alive in his 84 years. A whole lot. But he was in that position, like I say, in the during the Bush administration, the senior Bush, not the son, which is kind of ironic. And he also had a son who was a congressman in the senator, excuse me, in the state of Illinois, Jesse Jackson Jr. And one thing he did have in common with his father, he was an accomplished athlete, and he actually got featured in Sports Illustrated magazine in the Faces in the Crowd section when he was running track. And like I say, more than likely he could have parlayed that into an amateur career. Excuse me. So, like I say, this is gonna be an ongoing story. Just the real quick to run it back for his voting voting history. When he ran in 1984 in the 1984 primary for the Democratic Party, he came in third place. He only Walter Mondale and Gary Hart got more votes than him. Jesse Jackson got 18% of the vote with 3,200,082 votes. So, and mind you, he did all that with limited cable news coverage and social media. I'm back then. You just wasn't. It wasn't like a Obama type thing where people were just walking around with Jesse Jackson T-shirts on. I'm pretty sure there was, but it was probably like the official election shirts. But he did all that with not a lot. Like I say, if he would have had the backing like other candidates have had, like a Barack Obama or a Kamala Harris, or who knows what he could have done in that in 19 like I say 1984. In 1988 in the primary, he got he came in second place, got 29% of the vote with six million 700,088 991 votes. And he came in second place. He beat out Al Gore in the primary in 88. So real quick, I want to make a correction. I misread how the shadow senator worked. He actually had to run for that, and he won. He beat out Florence Pendleton in 1990 with 85,000 votes, and he was the shadow senator for the District of Columbia. But it and the thing about it, the clarify that a shadow senator can be appointed. They don't necessarily have to be elected, but they can be appointed. But in his situation in 1990, he actually ran for for it and won 85,450 votes. He got 50% of the total. Um, he got the President's Award from the NAACP in 1988. He got the Presidential Medal of Freedom in the year 2000 from President Bill Clinton. That's the highest honor that a civilian can get. Jesse Jackson, although he has worked with worked with the military and negotiated a free and a hostage and stuff like that, he has no military history of his own. Like I say, so the Presidential Medal, that's the highest award a civilian can get. He was he got inherited the title of High Prince of the Agni people of Cote d'Ivoire. So there's numerous of those type of awards and titles he's been given over the years. More than likely later on today, or later on tonight, me and the rest of the crew will get on and we'll discuss that. We'll also discuss what else been going on. Of course, Michael Jordan, as an owner, just won his first NASCAR race. Want to talk about that because we've been kind of covering his NASCAR journey since the show started. As you can see, one of his race cars is actually the background of the video you're watching right now. Of course, Chris Paul's retirement, and I'm pretty sure before the day is over with, we'll hear about other stuff that's been happening. But I just wanted to jump on for a few minutes. Did about 20 minutes talking about them. Um, I'm a second shift person, so I don't go to work till later on in the day. So, like I say, maybe somebody else from the crew might get on. Maybe Ozzy or Mike or Miles might jump on later to get their thoughts. But like I said, that when I woke up this morning, that was literally like the first thing I seen. Like, boom, Jesse Jackson's face was on the screen. I was like, oh man. So it's really, we're really, it's really like an end of an era because unless I may be wrong. I know John Lewis passed away a few years prior. Jesse Jackson might be one of the last people left. Um, I think Andrew Young. Let me Google him. All right, Andrew Young is still alive at 93 years old, and he's actually 9 years older than Jesse Jackson. Of course, he was mayor of Atlanta in 1982. And he was an ambassador for the United Nations. Of course, he marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. So you know, prayers up for our elders. And like I say, always try to take time. Learn your history. And if you got older relatives that was living back then, or even parents, if your parents are that old, talk to them sometime, ask them questions if they feel like talking about the stuff that went on back then, because you can get. I appreciate the oral history more than actually looking it up in books and videos. I like hearing stories from people firsthand. I always appreciate that more. But we're about to shut this stream down. Like I say, probably get back on later tonight. But appreciate everybody for looking in. Channel 6 podcast signing off. You guys and girls have a good morning. We'll see y'all later on tonight.
Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I led you to believe it was easy when it wasn't. Maybe I made you think my highlights started at the free throw line and not in the gym. Maybe I made you think that every shot I took was a game winner. That my game was built on flash and not fire. Maybe it's my fault that you didn't see that failure gave me strength, that my pain was my motivation. Maybe I led you to believe that basketball was a God-given gift and not something I worked for every single day of my life. Maybe I destroyed the game. Or maybe you're just making excuses.